صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأزجن إليك بين أهلها زجيج الآملين ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غاية آمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته وهو يزج إليك ضجيج معمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي وكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك أم كيف تولمه النار وهو يعمل فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يورقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا ربا أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتقه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبع لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك وباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاهديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك موصولا، وأعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قو على خدمتك جوارحي واشدد على العظيمة جبانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرع إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في المبارزين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فارد، ومن كادني فكد، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، واعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وقلني عصرتي، واغفر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة، فإليك يا رب نسبت وجهي، وإليك يا رب مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا، اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء. يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى، ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء. يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أحلو. وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من أهله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. Let's recite 5 times Amma Yujibul for the safety of all Muslimin, especially our brothers and sisters in Gaza, for the quick and complete recovery of all those who are sick, especially my uncle is also sick and admitted to ICU in London, and all the safety of Muslimin, and for the hastening of Imam Zamana Jallahu Ta'ala Faradaw Sharif. Let's recite 5 times Amma Yujibul. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. 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 اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور. اللهم اشف كل مريض. اللهم اصلح كل فاسد من امور المسلمين. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج وجعل الله من انصاره وعوانه برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين. رحم الله من يكره الفاتحة.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم. تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون. لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون. إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاءتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبيلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون أصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لتمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نؤمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند مهدرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رمين قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم سورة الفاتحة
बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलवात अला मोहम्मद पुकारी शाना हिला के मादर उठो सकीना सहर हुई है पुकारी शाना हिला के मादर उठो सकीना सहर हुई है ना रूठे गमगीन माँ से दिल पर उठो सकीना सहर हुई है उठो के अब्बास आ रहे हैं वो भर के मश्की जला रहे हैं उठो के अब्बास आ रहे हैं, वो भर के मशकी जला रहे हैं। ना जुल्म उठाएगा कोई तुम पर, ना जुल्म उठाएगा कोई तुम पर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, पुकारी शाना खिला के मादर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, न कोई मारेगा ताजियाने, ना आएगा अब कोई सताने। ना शेम्र लेगा तुम्हारे गौहर, ना शेम्र लेगा तुम्हारे गौहर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, कफस में यूं हमसे मुंह न मोड़ो, रहो न खामोश कुछ तो बोलो। न पास अकबर है और न असगर, न पास अकबर है और न असगर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, पुकार शाना खिला के मादर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, न कम सिनी में सुकून पाया, उठा है सर से पदर का साया। यही था बेटा तेरा मुक़द्दर, यही था बेटा तेरा मुक़द्दर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, तड़प के फुरकत में न रोना, पे दर के सीने पे जाके सोना। तड़प के फुरकत में न रोना, पदर के सीने पे जाके सोना। बुलाने आए हैं तुमको सरवर, बुलाने आए हैं तुमको सरवर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, न लड़खड़ाओगी रास्तों में, रसन बंधेगी न बाजुओं में। न सर बरहना ना फिरोगी दर दर, न सर बरहना फिरोगी दर दर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, पुकारी शाना हिला के मादर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, पदर से तुमको छुड़ाने वाले और हमको दर दर फिराने वाले। पदर से तुमको छुड़ाने वाले और हमको दर दर फिराने वाले। न बख्शे जाएंगे रोज़े महशर, न बख्शे जाएंगे रोज़े महशर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, पुकारी शाना हिला के मादर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है, न रूठे गमगीन माँ से दिलबर। उठो सकीना सहर हुई है। बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलवात।
बर मोहम्मद वाल Muhammad salawat. Can you please read Surah Fatiha for all who are in Surah Al-Barakat Al-Fatiha? Can you please invite, come on back to the podium with a loud Nara Salawat. Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad Salawat.
سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم النبيين وآله الطاهرين. صلى الله وآل محمد. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. I mean, over the last week and then inshallah next week, for these 3 weeks, is it going okay? Yeah, the sound is okay. Thank you. For these 3 weeks, what I thought I will try to reflect on and just visit the situation or the position of the Shia Islam in the world. Is it? And while we did that, I started with obviously looking at the development of Shia Islam in Iran. And today I will try to move on to the other huge center that we have, which is Iraq. And the reason I did Iran first, and now I'll go and I will give some statistics, because this is a discussion quite often is now happening, but unfortunately sometimes we take it in the sense, especially the youths, that they believe that there's some sort of conflict which goes on between the Hozas there. And I will, hopefully, if you remember some of the part which we talked about last week, and if I move on to Iraq and the development here, we'll see how the focus is a bit different. Although the rulings and fiqh which comes out of there mostly stays the same, and that's why they take the strength. And that actually is because of the individual Hozas' specific phenomena, how they developed and where they are now. So today, when I did Iran, I think first of all, if I can recap on that, the recapping will go about how big is the Iran and how big is the Shia population there. Iran is a population of about 87 million people, which is quite huge. And if you put it in perspective, United Kingdom is supposed to be 7.78 million. So it's way bigger than United Kingdom. And 90 to 95%, according to United Nations, the population is Shia Muslims, which puts in the perspective that about 82 million, more than 82.5 million Shias live in Iran. It's massive population. It's the largest Shia population in the world. And if you've got 90 to 95% Shia population occupying 1.6 million kilometers square, just grasp that number, 1.6 million kilometers square. It is the 17th largest country in the world in its land. It is 8 times larger than the area of United Kingdom. Just grasp that fact. This is the background which provides them a totally different outlook on world. Their army is 610,000 with 350,000 reserves. The 12th largest army in the world. If you look at the literacy rate there, it is Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. It is 85 to 87% literacy rate. And their literacy is not like, I come from Pakistan, if you write your name, you are called literate. Their literacy is supposed to be at least grade 8. 90%, 91% of men have been to year 10. That gives them a totally different outlook on life. Just keep this in your mind, and then we will move on to the next part of their development before we come back. And now I will just reflect on Iraq and their current situation. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad. So Iraq is a very young country as we think. But if you look at the history, Uruk, or the central Iraq, has been mentioned in 7th century BC documents. So Iraq was there. And if you look at their history and archaeological sites, Iraq was the place where this debate goes on, because they found the evidence of even the Neanderthal culture, even before the mankind. This is how old the civilization had been there. Sumerian language started there. And if you know about Sumerian language, it's the oldest language of the world. It does not exist at the moment, but that's the first document we found. Obviously, we know that in the area of Kufa, Prophet Idris lived. We know the courtyard of Masjid Kufa, the traditions tell us that the flood of Noah started. Going very, very old time back. We know that Prophet Adam and Prophet Noah are attributed to be buried in Najaf. This is how old the civilization is. But because of various reasons, history came, history went, history came, history went. And it became, later on, just an outskirt, fast forward to the beginning of Islam, an outpost of Iran. Remember last week we talked about Madain, that was the capital of Kisra of that time, when Holy Prophet was born. So now, as the Islam developed and they started encroaching into other parts, the Battle of Qadsiya was fought near Kufa. And this is how Muslims started entering there. So now what did they do? They developed garrison towns there, because they always had this fear of the Iranians having an uprising again. When they went up north, Azerbaijan will have uprising again. So the two big garrison towns were developed there. One is Kufa, which was not there before the second caliph's time. And the second part is Sarman Rai. Sarman Rai, or the way on the path, which is now called Samara. That was developed as a garrison town. And the armies were left there. Then, after Kufa was developed, it had a lot of soldiers there, obviously, because it's a garrison town. So it became quite a position of power. So when Imam Ali was looking at finding a base to stay safe from the attacks from Syria, he developed Kufa as its capital. And lots of people who were soldiers were living here. That is why when basically the treachery happened against him, it was not just few people doing it, it was the soldiers who were from Kufa, not Imam Ali, but Imam Hassan. And Imam Hassan had to back down and move to Medina. And then we know Imam Hussein was called there, Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Imam Hussein was invited by the people of Kufa. He came here, Karbala happened. And after that, majority of the Imam kept on moving here. Why? Because Abbasid took power. And Abbasid developed Baghdad or Tus, as we talked last week, as their capital. So Baghdad is the capital now. In Baghdad, obviously, you had 7th Imam and then 9th Imam buried there, 10th and 11th in Samarra. So actually 6 of our Imams are buried on the lands of Iraq. I'll come back to the history of the development of Shia Islam, but this is a turmoil area where it has been a topsy-turvy situation. in terms of the development of laws or simply the knowledge base there. Fast forward to the last century, English started ruling. English have ruled out many parts of the world, so they ruled Iraq as well, had their fair bite. In 1932, Iraq got liberated. And who became their ruler? Somebody called King Faisal. He was the first king at that time. In 1958, they had a revolt, and in that revolution, Baathist Iraq was born. So Baath party came. Abdul Karim Qasim became the first president. Then Ahmad Hassan Abu Bakr came in 1968. And who was his vice president? Saddam Hussein. Saddam, till 1979, was the vice president, and then he became president. But he always had this power over Baath's party. And this is Iran-Iraq war started. Saddam definitely wanted to play as the policeman in that region and wanted to hold the power. To do that, he basically, whatever the base of knowledge, he kept on destroying, kept on punishing people, all the way up to 2003. And I won't go into detail of that because we all know what happened after that. The reason I said all of this, because this is a turmoil area which never had, for a long time, its borders even classified. So that is why even now, as we know in Iraq, there is a lot of different types of population. Iraq's population is 43 million, 43.5 million. And same website from United Nations, when I looked at, 64% are known to be Shias, which is 27 million. Compare that with 82 million of Iranian Shias, meaning that 34% are Sunnis, and then there are other populations, and you have to take that into account. Again, if you want to grasp the number, only 27 million, which means Iraq is not even the second largest Shia population in the world. It is less Shias than in India and less Shias than in Pakistan, in Iraq. On the basis of all that, you have to make all your decisions when you are based there. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let's put this political situation and the ground realities on one side. Let's look at our history. So obviously we know about our Imams, but that was in 995, more than 1,000 years back, world's oldest seminary of any religion, surviving seminary. Seminaries have been developed before that as well, but they were destroyed. But in the continuity, the seminary which has held its course is the seminary of Najaf. Hawza Ilmiya was born. And that was developed by a remarkable person, Sheikh Tusi. And even if you look at the scholars, then we will get to know that there was so much turmoil, they did not have a base. The name says it, he was from Tus. But because of the turmoils, he had to move around. Sheikh Tusi actually settled in Baghdad. And he basically, if you look at, he's born in 900, born at that time. And when he was in the Tus, there was turmoil there of Mongols, and then he moved to Baghdad, started the seminary. He had apparently the largest library of the whole of Baghdad. Unfortunately, there was a turmoil. 1055. He had all his books there, his house there, although he was in and out of there. There was a huge fight between Seljuqs and Bayuds. So meaning they were still fighting each other. But when the Seljuqs took over, they were not very much liking Shias. They destroyed his library. And Sheikh Tusi, it is quite often said, he could not recover from the grief of it. That was the time he permanently moved to Najaf, although he was in and out of Najaf. But for him, obviously, it was a huge loss. But for maybe you and I, it was a huge gain, because then Najaf flourished. People followed him there. Who is Sheikh Tusi? quite often we called him Jafar Tusi. His name is not Jafar, it's Abu Jafar. His name, lots of our scholars, their name is usually, just by coincidence, are Muhammad. So, but he is known as Sheikhul Taifa. He was so popular in his usul and fiqh that when he died in 1067, for next 80 years, there was nobody who claimed ijtihad. For 80 years, because they thought that's ultimate man has come and gone. We'll follow his books, we have got enough knowledge there, and we'll continue doing that. He wrote two books as well, and this gives a very huge insight into who the person he was. So till now, all the scholars are walking on the same grounds. He wrote Tahzibul Islam, Tahzibul Ahkam, and then he wrote Al-Istabsar. And what is the interesting thing in that, Tahzibul Ahkam, which has just been translated, I think, in English, it has got lots of ahadith. By the time he came on the Al-Istabsar, he analyzed the authenticities. And he gave, for the first time, the measure of the ahadith, how we should be measuring them. Before that, it was just hadith taken over. He first time came up with, and that is why, remember, Allama Hilli was the one who did a lot of work. Last week we talked about him. But Sheikh Tusi is the one who gives the principle, usul. So usul. And he's the one who basically says, which we had a brief discussion to say, that you know what, there is no authentic hadith. Every hadith we have to analyze. And these are the usul. He came, again, today you take it for granted, don't you? That we exactly know this. We are talking back about 1,000 years back, when people were writing books still with the hands. And he basically came up, no, we need to come with usul. And that is why his school was called Usuli School. Then Hawzai Usuliya, that's what they called it. Before him, who was he a student of? Sheikh Mufid. Who was Sheikh Mufid the student of? Sorry, it might get a bit dry, but just try to see the evaluation. He was student of Sheikh Suduq. And Sheikh Mufid, and you and I, how many times we hear Sheikh Suduq and we go in awe of him, that he was such a great scholar. Sheikh Mufid challenges him. Because before that, Sheikh Suduq had this principle that if you have got Akhbarul Wahid, meaning hadith has come, you accept it and you follow it. Sheikh Mufid said, no, that doesn't work like that. We need to have some principles. So he firstly started dissecting hadith, and Sheikh Tusi took it to the Kamal. He said, you know what, we will not do that. And this is the birth of the first seminary, not just Islam, leave Shia Islam, not just Islam, of any faith, Abrahamic faith in the world. And that is going on. Why? Because he brought a lot of logic into it. He said, no, you cannot be having this hadith and that, they both are right, when they're totally contradicting each other. This is what Sheikh Tusi left us. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Fast forward. Then we wouldn't have time, so again, I've got a lot of names here, but I know I should finish in 10-15 minutes. Let's go to the last century now, just then. Fast forward, leave the lots of scholars, no disrespect to them, but let's come to this, that why Iran and Iraq, Hawza come from different angles. If you look at now, another big name, Allama Tabatabai. Allama Tabatabai, I'm sure even the children will know his name, Tafsirul Mizan. He wrote a tafsir, which is absolutely magnificent. And we are in awe of him. He is born in 1903 in Iran, in a place called Tabriz. He is buried in Qum, called in Iran. But all the work he has done is in Iraq. He came to Iraq, he studied here. There are different derivations of that. Even Mutahari has written about him, because Mutahari was a student, Allama Mirza Mutahari. But this is the point. Why did he come here and not there? Because remember, we talked a lot about Irani Hausa was very strong in falsafa, mantaq, but not in the usulul fiqh and usul hadith of tafsir Quran. Well, so, sorry, I'm not sure. Or they were, or let's say Najaf was more popular for this. Najaf was more famous for this. That's why he came here. He wanted to strengthen his tafsir of Quran. So he did, he might have done that. He had, by the way, no disrespect to him, because he has written on falsafa as well. One of his again, if you're in philosophy, read that. It's interesting. Is the realism. His discussion with Western scholars are written in the book. He actually takes the Western philosophy and basically completely flips it apart. Allama Tabatabai. And realism is an interesting concept. This his concept about that realism is either considered or substantive. So considered is, for example, this is the ball, that's real. But what goes through my mind is more substantive because it is in my mind. But you might not see that. And how the two put together actually create our perception of the world. So my truth could be different to yours. It's a very interesting topic, but very dry. So I will leave it here. Allama Tabatabai lived in Iraq for a long time. He started writing his tafsir. And in his tafsir, he took a different approach, as we all know. He actually picked up Surah An-Kabut. If you might have read this, his book, his tafsir is in his preface. He says in Surah An-Kabut, it is said that if you want to pursue the reality, I will guide you. And I will guide you through Quran. I want to pursue how to interpret Quran. So if it is in Quran, I have to look at Quran through Quran. So if Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, if I have to do tashri of Alhamd, I need to find out what Alhamd means in Quran. Not the literary meaning, but how Allah defines Alhamd. If it is Rabb, I have to look in Quran, what does Rabb actually mean? I must not be looking at dictionaries. That is why he took decades to finish his tafsir. But then he got there in the end. And he is so popular, as we all know. So this is the slant of Iraqi Hausa, Usulul Fiqh, Usulul Quran. Then we got another very great person there, one of our favorites, many of who read him are in awe of him. He's older than Allama Tabatabai, but he became popular after Allama Tabatabai. His name is Ayatollah Abul Qasim Khoi. He's born in 1899. What he brings to us, and he died in 1992, and I remember the day he died, it was really, I was still in medical school, I think in final year. And it was such heartbreaking time because Ayatollah Khoi was Mujaddid of the last century. He was like one of the biggest scholars. What did he do? Again, this is something which I know that some of our ulama say, no, it's not true, but there is evidence for it, and majority of our, even the Ayatollah will say, yeah, that's true. He wrote a book called Matamur Rijal, 24 volumes. So what did he do? What did he bring to us? He said, Rijal is very important to interpret hadith. So I need to analyze that every single person who is in the chain of hadith, who were they? 24 volumes. I mean, if I ask all of us or myself, tell me about Abu Zar Ghafari, I'm in like half a page. I mean, he writes 24 volumes on that somebody used. What did it actually achieve? He said, now I need to look at all the ahadith with a new lens. So much so. Now, this is the part which is controversial, but I am very confident and I can give you the quotes. In 1963, he became a mujtahid. By 1967-68, people were saying, take his ijtihad back. He's changing Islam. That's not the Islam that we want, or we know as it is. Why? Because said we can't find hadith of this. Just because I completely respect the previous ulama, they might have found hadith of it. So they interpreted it this way, but I can't. So in all honesty, can I take responsibility to guide millions of Shias to say do this. I can't. So I have to go on what I have got here. After Matam Rijal, he wrote Minhaj Salihin, which became controversial. But he proved himself. So much so that slowly, by late 70s, in 60s when Ayatollah Masood Hakim passed away, after that, by 80s, there was no other person doing ijtihad against Ayatollah Khoi in Iraq. He became such popular man that he said, and he did a lot of his basis on Urf, made your and my life so easy. So how long should be the beard? Well, if Urf says it's beard, that type of things he came with. And lots of things he made easier and easier. This is what was the issue with them. And then obviously, right now, we have got Ayatollah Sistani. May Allah give him long life. He's born only in 1930. And after Ayatollah Khoi, there was a bit of gap, but then he acquired. He had acquired ijtihad before him in Ayatollah Khoi's life as well. In 1989, when we went to Iraq, Ayatollah Khoi was quite debilitated with his arthritis. And Ayatollah Sistani, we did not know the name at that time, he was leading the prayers in Najaf. And it is quite often said that the person who leads prayers in Najaf is going to be the next. And we found out only a few years later it was Ayatollah Sistani. He actually comes with the whole political, now let's go back to the political problems. He comes on the back of not a stable government, not all the problems to the Shias, lots of brutal killing by Saddam, and all the difficulties that he had. He has focused a lot on fiqh and Quran and Hadith, and his contribution is so admirable. But he has not launched himself into the politics era, as we all know. Iraq right now has a government from National Alliance. National Alliance is led by Ammarul Hakim, as you have heard, and the other alliance party, which is called State of Law Coalition, the guy is called Nurul Maliki, and I'm sure you have heard the name. And the opposition, so this is Shia bloc. So some people, they say that they have blessings from the Hawza, although Hawza has sometimes given very strong statements against them as well. Because Hawza says, it's not our job to govern. We are letting you elect, but we can issue guidance. It's up to them to take it or not. So this is where it is important to understand that their input to politics, the social fabric of the society is different. That does not mean they will ask you to recite namaz differently and you differently. They will not ask for our khums to be different, or even political stands to be different. We are going through the turmoil of Palestine. Now, you must have seen that both of them will issue the statement. One will say A and other will say A. But how loud will be that? It will be different. And that is the fabric of that Hawza. They will still go through Quran. They will still go through Hadith. They will still go through Ijtihad. But the concept of Walayat Faqih, which is in Iran, so strong, because they can. When you can have got 95% people who are able to follow you, then you will make laws like that. And when you have got 30%, 40% people, A, who are not following you, and B, you have recently seen, not recently, from Imam Hussein's days, they can just switch like that against you. Then you will want to protect the rest of the Shia Muslims in your country. You will not come up with your strong statements. But it does not mean that you are against it. It is just they will not follow it in practical terms. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ahli Muhammad. And I believe this is what we should be telling our youths. That obviously for fiqh, you need to find ahli khibra, you need to do the taqleed. And obviously, as we all know, where you will end up, that's different. That does not mean that you should be disrespecting other maraji. This is very important. Just because they say something more louder or less louder does not make a nauzubillah corrupt. Because these are the voices which are coming up. And this is why I thought it will be good for us to remind ourselves that these people have spent their lives protecting us. How many of you, sorry, not you, maybe me, can stand up and say, you all do namaz as I tell you? I mean, obviously, without reading the books, I'll give my fatwa. Because I will be taking on my neck the burden of everybody. Leave alone, I will tell you, I'm leading a prayer. Leave alone here, anywhere. So if we believe there are 2 billion Muslims in the world, and if we believe that the safe number is about 20% of Shias, we're talking about, I mean, like 400 million? 400 million people. How many of people will take that on their neck? That we will be taking that responsibility. These people are taking that responsibility. Remember, brothers and sisters, taqleed is the easy way out. Otherwise, what is real wajib is for you and me to acquire ijtihad. They took the responsibility from me. How more one father earns the food for one household, and we are grateful to them because they are allowing their children to study and wife to stay at home and whatever he wants to do. Maybe wife is working, whatever. But we are grateful to them. These people are feeding the spiritual food to 400 million people in the world. And we come here and we just like that destroy them by saying, what does he know? And I think this is something which we need to talk to our next generation more and very strongly about. So much so, if you look at, I think, when was it, July, when the 500 most influential Muslims book, which comes every year. So it was just a few months back. So Ayatollah Khamenei is number 3 and Ayatollah Sistani is number 9 in 400 million people. That's what they take the burden from us. So I will stop here, but I think this is something which is really important that we teach ourselves and our children and our next generation that the taqleed is not born out of thin air. It's a huge structure which has gone into it. There are huge practical realities that our ulama have to look at. There are huge difficulties they have to pass through. You and I, if somebody taunts us, we think he's being rude to us. I mean, look at it. The whole world throws so much garbage at these people. And they sit there and they take it and still guide us. I mean, if it was you and me, I would say, yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm going home tomorrow. And they did that. May Allah allow us to follow the real Islam as they have been really working hard to provide us. May Allah actually give us the tawfiq to follow the footstep of the real scholars. May Allah allow us to respect them and give them the due that they have got on us. May Allah hasten the appearance of our 12th Imam. And may Allah protect the Palestinians as they are going through. We know that there is an agreement which has happened and that will start taking place from tomorrow for the next 4 days. So next few days are very crucial. So inshallah, all of us will keep on making our du'as, making our contribution, whatever we can, because there are only few people against the whole of the world. And we really send our support and our du'as to them. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Adam sifwatillah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Nuhin Nabiyillah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Ibrahim Khalilillah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Musa Kalimillah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Isa Ruhillah. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها، ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن، بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم، وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله، بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله. لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض، فلعن الله أمة أسرجت والجمت وتحيت لقتالك. زاد علي بن حسين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. السلام عليك يا ولي الله وابن وليه. لقد عظمت المصيبة وجلت الرزية بك علينا وعلى جميع المسلمين، فلعن الله أمة قتلتك وابرأوا إلى الله وإليك منهم. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباءه. السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأوداءه. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الزكي الناصح. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله. بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما، فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم.
Assalamu alayka ya Abul Fadl al-Abbas ibn Amir al-Mu'minin. Assalamu alayka ya ibn Sayyid al-Wasiyyin. Assalamu alayka ya ibn awwal al-qawm islama وأقدمهم إيمانا وأقومهم بدين الله وأحوطهم على الإسلام. أشهد لقد نصحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناصر والأخ الدافع عن أخيه المجيب إلى طاعة ربه الراغب فيما زيد في غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل والحقق الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. السلام عليكم يا سائر شهداء كربلاء جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك شمس الشموس وأنيس النفوس أيها المدفون بأرض توس. الرضا المرتضى الراضي بالقدر والقضاء مولانا علي بن موسى الرضا. كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء. وفقنا الله لزيارتك يا مولاي والصلاة والسلام على آبائك الطاهرين وأبنائك المعصومين وعلى أختك فاطمة المعصومة ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا حجة الله يا ابن الحسن يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان. أجل الله لك ما وعدك من النصر وظهور الأمر ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على
الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك حجة الغفار صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كليسا وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك الدعاء وتوديه فيها طويلا.
And please say Surah Fatiha for Marhum Ali Ghulam Sen Sharif and Marhuma Nargis Bai Ghulam Ali Manji Haji and all the Marhumin Al-Fatiha.